on the subject of whom the princesses would destroy the fan fiction. So this fan fiction was 4 chapters, about 30 minutes per chapter, and it was pretty much all OCs. Chapter 3 had some Celestia in it, Chapter 4 had very, very light Twilight, but it was mostly about OCs, and it was about how the kingdom is run behind the scenes. There was an OC, his name was Dotted Line, and he was supremely likable. His voice actor was amazing. He had a cool attitude. He was fun. He was fun to follow. Um, Another um, named Leafy Salad was also pretty fun. Was in it less, but he was pretty fun. Another named Spinning Top was pretty fun. Another named Ivory Abacus, also a very fun character. So what happened in this story is, essentially, it's just behind the scenes stuff, uh, court and trying to resolve problems between the nobles, thinking that the ponies. So it's a comedy, and one of the really funny things was like they're the noble ponies are like terrified of Twilight becoming an alicorn because Celestia turns her into an alicorn and then her ruling with an iron hoof. And it's like that's essentially what happens in the series because this was written before that happened, but it's like, yeah, that's about the gist of it. Twilight eventually does come, gets turned into an alicorn, and then is the ruler of Equestria. Um, it also had some scenes with like how the press works and how they turn everything into to bad stories. And there was a really cool scene where Celestia came and she talked to Dotted Line for a while, uh, and gave him some tea because he loves his tea. It was really funny because I did like that they included Luna. Not she was in the story at all, but they did include her and uh, how they did things because she came back. Like one of the parts is it talks about is when Luna came back, all of the paperwork that they had to do to reinstate Luna as having the authority that Celestia did too. And Dotted Line is like it was one of the days, like one of his happiest days, just seeing her smile, and it was enough to make the hours and hours and hours of work worth it. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, yeah, Luna's great. Um, and also that Luna and Celestia were like having a food fight, and they completely destroyed. Well, not destroyed, but covered in uh, jam and what was custard, I believe. Jam and custard, because they were launching projectile food at each other. And then they were gonna move Twilight to her old room, but it turns out that she had left like a spell in there, and it caused it to create a separate reality with like this crazy demon monster and like Ivory Abacus and and Dotted Line and like some others go in there, and it's not really like a real fight or anything. It's like a jokey like, oh, they're fighting against stuff, and that was really fun part. And there was a side part with Spinning Top in the press that was kind of like unnecessary. I didn't feel like that was very integral to the storyline. Um, but all of the Dotted Line stuff was really fun. Um, and what happens at the end is after all of that and all of the work to try and make everything perfect, because what's going to happen is Twilight's coming for a visit. That's the big crisis that they're trying to go through, and it's like all of these problems just because Twilight's coming to visit. Um, what happens is after they get rid of that crazy demon thing in her old room, she writes a letter and she's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna stay with my parents." So like they did everything for literally no reason. And then Dotted Line goes, and he's gonna receive Twilight. And it's funny because like all of this work goes into it. Like all of the guards there are because he set them up, and he also set up like a secret team of unicorns to like take care of the area, and he set up like flying Pegasus to patrol the area. And what happens is Twilight comes and she's just like noticing the things, but it's like not even like a concern for her. Like she's like, oh yeah, some Pegasus were flying around, and that was kind of odd. And then the Earth ponies that the guards were here, and they were there, and it's just like, yeah, you don't see how much work that gets put into it from like Dotted Line and his people and stuff. And then she tries to cheer him up, and yeah, it doesn't work at all. He just gets even more sad, and that's the end of the fiction. Um, it was pretty funny. There were some parts that really made me laugh. The writing was really good. Uh, I'd say up there, like way up there, where you're like, oh man, this is one of those writers that makes you discouraged because you don't write as good as them, but uses it on a really really weird outlet. Oh man, you write so good. What are you gonna write? I'm gonna write a 4 chapter story about the background of the politics of Canterlot. All right, that's weird, but okay. um, but I liked it. It was fun. It was a fun one. There's a funny part with the CMC where they're trying to be protesters or whatever, and Spinning Top catches Scootaloo. They kind of throw that in there. Uh, there's a really cool part where the work ponies are supposed to be moving a like dresser from Twilight's old room where all the jam and stuff was to her new room so that she has something to like store her stuff in. And they're like, yeah, we're not moving it because she's we want hazard pay. And they're like, why would you want hazard pay? All you're doing is moving a dresser. And they're like, are you crazy? Twilight Sparkle's like insanely strong. Like she beat Discord, she beat Nightmare Moon. She's like, who knows what kind of things she did. There might be a spell in there that'll kill us all. And they start like listing off all of the stuff that she's done like through the episodes, and like it's funny because they're all true, but like they sound like mythological stuff. Like they're like, yeah, her and her friends went and fought a dragon. Oh yeah, she literally got Cerberus and brought him back to Tartarus and like stuff like that. And it's a good way to incorporate like the show and stuff. But I'd really like to see this writing style with like main six. I don't know how long it's been. I believe it was Dulcet, and then I believe the Rarity one, and then I believe this one. So it's been like, cause I went, I went like the one day with the 1 chapter, then yesterday was the 2 chapters, and then today was the 1 chapter, and I'm gonna stop for tonight. But it's been like 3 days since I've had like main six stuff, like primarily, and I'm excited to get back to it. But this one was good. I enjoyed it. Better than good. I'd say it was a 4. I'd say it was great. This is a great one. It doesn't break any of the top threes, especially since it's not a one shot, so it has to compete with Timeless, Integration, and Into the Depths, which it literally has no chance of passing any of those because of how good they are. But I enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars and a pretty fun listen.